Annabelle was a little 8-year-old girl with an incurable illness. It caused her a ton of pain and such that she couldn't eat. It was very difficult for her to even maintain nutrition. Years into her battling with this, her sister tried to get her to do something fun and got her to climb this big cottonwood tree in their backyard. And the two girls climbed up to 30 feet in the air. And it turns out that this cottonwood had a broken off branch and rain had poured into there and hollowed the tree out. Anna ended up falling headfirst 30 feet down inside that tree, landed on her head, and she was trapped in the tree for 5 hours. Her story was actually made into not only a book, but a major motion picture called Miracles from Heaven. Listen as her mother, Christy, tells me about who Anna met in heaven and how that convinced her this must be real. And then I want you to hear from several others who testify about the joy of children in heaven. I want you to hear it from several so that you see this is not a one-off. God truly restores all relationship. She falls headfirst down this hollow tree, 30 feet, and hits straight on her head.
Yes.
And is cured?
And is cured. She's completely well. Today, Annabelle is on 0 medications, 0. She's been released from the care of her pediatric gastroenterology specialist. And she eats whatever she wants, whenever she wants. I joke that she makes up for lost time eating everything in sight.
So just curious, what did she say when she hit her head? She immediately finds herself in heaven, or did she see herself, her body, or?
Yeah, she says that she did not see herself. She didn't look down and see herself. She said she didn't go on a journey. She was just there.
Just there. So what did she say she saw? How did she know where she was?
She said, I knew I was in heaven because I saw my Mimi, and that is my husband, Kevin, his father's mother, so her great-grandmother.
Great-grandmother.
And she had just died within that year, so it had been several months prior, like 7 to 9 months prior, that she had passed away. And she said...
So she knew her great-grandmother?
She did. And when
How old was her great-grandmother?
Almost 90.
Okay.
And so she knew her, but she said she didn't recognize her at first because she was so much younger. And then when she realized that's Mimi, and she's so much younger, she said, I knew I must be in heaven.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Did she see other people? Because that's another commonality of seeing loved ones or seeing people that you knew on earth who have passed away.
Well, she did. She saw a little girl, and she said, I kept looking at that little girl because her face looked and reminded me just of you, Mommy, and of Abby, her big sister, one of her sisters, but her big sister. And she said, I kept thinking, I know that face. And so she said she asked God, who is that little girl? And he said, Annabelle, that's your sister. Which was that was what confirmed in my heart for me, okay, this is so very real, because I had shared with the girls that I had had 2 miscarriages, but I never shared with them that one of them was an actual viable pregnancy that I lost, and one of them was called a blighted ovum that never truly was life created. But she didn't know that. She just knew that I'd had 2 miscarriages, and the fact that she saw one little girl in heaven was totally amazing to me.
Because for you, if she were making it up from what you had said before, she would have said, I saw 2
Absolutely.
girls or a boy, or
Absolutely.
But she saw one.
One.
And Jesus said to her, or God said to her, it's your sister?
That's your sister.
Wow.
On the other side of the tunnel, there's more people greeting me. There's more greeters. But it's not a welcoming committee. I saw 2 people. The interesting thing about this is I knew these people not by their physical bodies, which is very common in heaven if you just think about it, because people change. And your grandparents, they are old but when you see them in heaven, they're not old anymore. Everybody appears to be similar in age and vitally healthy. Anyway, I'm looking at this man who I recognize by my heart. I don't recognize him because I never saw him on earth, but he's my great-grandfather. We called him Pa. He was known in our family by Pa. We ended up living very close to where he was buried, in fact, right over our fence. If you walk a little bit, where we were first married in our home.
But
Paul
you'd
was
never met
buried,
him on
But
Earth?
I'd never met him. He died it was shortly before I was born.
Wow.
But I knew that that was Paul, and he was there to greet me, and the greeting was wonderful. But I'm telling you, it was wonderful, but let's compare that, because this is important, I think. It's important to me. Let's compare that greeting with, now he's my blood family, with the greeting of the people out in the front of the gate, and I don't recognize any of them. The wonderful love and the bond and unity was almost equal. There was a little bit extra special because we had earthly bonds, but the oneness that I felt here with the body was just great. Now, Pa was standing next to, obviously, Ma. These are old names, I know, but Pa and Ma were there, and I knew Ma. I mean, she babysitted for me for years and years, and I remembered her quirks and her little idiosyncrasies. But see, I would have never recognized her.
Why is that?
Because she had changed so much. She died in her 90s, and I knew her as an old woman. When I was a kid, she was, in her 80s. And she was a small lady at the time on the earth. And so I would have never recognized her by her earthly, because when she was in heaven, she looked to be in her 30s. So it was heart-to-heart knowledge. We connected. Oh, Ma, Pa, wonderful. And others were walking around, and we were moving around. There's another person shortly after Ma and Pa, and this person is named Glenn, and I never met him, but he was my uncle. And he was my dad's brother, and my dad never met him. This Glenn died at 3 days old, way back when. I forgot when, but he died way back in about 1926 or somewhere, who I never met, who Dad never met. And I began to wonder, why is he here? I mean, isn't that an obvious question? Why is he being brought to me? Because he died in childbirth. 3 days old is kind of like, he died a baby, tiny baby.
But in heaven, he's
in this
older?
case, he's in his 30s. He looked like he's in his 30s. So I found out later that there's an area where the little babies and the unborn fetuses are brought and are matured until they understand the ways of God and the way things work in heaven. They don't have to learn about earth, but they have to learn in heaven.
So you still learn? It's like you grow up?
There's plenty to do, and there's always learning. It's 24 hours, 7 days a week, if you were to use our time schedule here, learning. And we're always learning, but it's not a pressure. It's not a test that we have to pass. It's just, you're going to spend eternity learning about God. He's so intricate and so complex and so diverse. There's so many dimensions. I don't think learning stops. It's my opinion.
And all the time, they're telling me things. And before I can even ask a question, they're answering me. I don't want to describe it as telepathy. It was as though they were in my mind and I was in theirs, and we were one. And it was so beautiful and so they gave me an aerial view of heaven, I suppose, because I was a pilot. And so I'm looking at the halls of knowledge, the halls of learning, the halls of music. But one building just stunned me. It was so beautiful. And I said, what is that building? Because there was a large green space around it. And he said, that, James, is the nursery. And I said, nursery? In heaven? Yes, James. This is where the souls of aborted children, or children who die of disease or issues at birth, God loves their light, and he brings it back, and they're raised in the nursery. And I don't have time to go into how they're raised and so on, but how beautiful that Jesus loves us like that.
He showed me this in the distance, this waterfall, but it wasn't a waterfall. They were falling linens. And they were amazing. They were just beautiful, elegant linens falling from the hill down like a waterfall would be. And it was just coating the fields. And everything had purpose. Everything was intentional in heaven. Nothing was happenstance. And I was looking at this, and I was seeing children. And they were frolicking about. And they were frolicking with the angels. And they were frolicking with these gargantuan angels who were just playing with them like that they were and childlike. And I asked Jesus, what is this? And he said, these are the children that died too soon. And I realized that they were growing up in heaven. These children were growing up in heaven. I've never seen anything quite so beautiful as the flowing linens and the joy emanating from these children.
And what could be more beautiful? All the relational losses and grief and hurts, it all gets restored in the kingdom of love, in God's kingdom. See, heaven is all about relational redemption. He's so wonderful, and he loves you more than you can imagine. He loves all of us more than we can imagine. And one day we will all be together in his kingdom. And know that if you have lost a child, you will go to them one day. You will see them. They wait for you, and they forgive too. In God's love and grace, all things are made right. And yes, near-death experiences have told me they can't wait to see you. They're eagerly waiting for you. Hold on to that hope and know that you can live in all of God's love right now. You can bring more of heaven's relationship to our relationships on earth. Well, I hope you have enjoyed this podcast. If so, I hope you'll share it with friends, spread the word so that others know about the incredible love of God and what's in store for us then and now. If you do like it, please subscribe so you'll get notifications, hit the like and the bell and all that so that others will find out about it. And until next time, God bless you. God bless all your relationships.